Am I right, fellas? What is their deal? They like video games?
This guy's called Woke Karen on YouTube, and I'm sure that's supposed to be an hilariously ironic name, except, unfortunately for him, no, because that's actually what he is. He is a woke Karen. In this video, he's going to explain to us exactly how men are the problem in the video games industry, how men ruined video games. So even though the vast majority of people who make video games are men, and the vast majority of people who play video games are men, we somehow ended up ruining the entire hobby for everyone. I'm very curious how we did that exactly. So let's just get right into the most intellectual video I've probably watched on this channel.
The whole entire situation is just confusing to me. If girl like video game, and I like video game too, does that make me girl?
What situation? Like, he's just created a situation in his head where I guess men are afraid of women playing video games because then men would become more like women or whatever. Now, I'm not stupid. I know what he means when he says this situation. He's obviously referring to, well, still a situation he made up in his head. The situation that men are supposedly ruining video games and women are the victims of that. But claiming that one of the reasons why men are doing that is because they're scared of being, you know, more feminine or whatever is fucking stupid. I've never heard anybody complain about, like, women make me look more feminine because they also play video games. And on top of that, the entire idea of men purposely ruining video games for women is completely baseless and stupid.
Out of any social construct, there's nothing more feared, hated, and misunderstood in the video game entertainment industry than those who identify as feminists. The ingrained behaviors of those in video game culture is not inclusive to all genders.
How is it not? I genuinely wonder at his reasoning as to why it's not inclusive towards all genders. Last time I checked, if a woman picks up a gaming controller and starts playing the game, she can still play the game. The controller isn't gonna be like, no, please pass me to a man, women cannot play this game. That's not how it works. Then there's this idea that male gamers don't understand feminists. Like, maybe that's a little true, right? But there have been feminists like Anita Sarkeesian.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Who have relentlessly, like, attacked the video games and gamers for being sexist and misogynistic based on nothing, based upon the fact that she simply didn't do any research and didn't understand the industry or video games at all.
I'm going to show you a remix that I just finished this weekend and no one else has seen. One person has seen it. It's a soundtrack of one song, except I'm doing video games. So it's not exactly a fandom. I'm not a fan of video games. I actually had to learn a lot about video games in the process of making this.
There are many barriers that women need to overcome in order to be considered a true gamer. Whereas if you're a boy and you own an Xbox, congratulations, you're part of the club.
Okay, first off, I find the idea of there being true gamers, you know, real gamers, to be fucking cringe, right? Anybody who plays video games as a hobby could be considered a gamer. I do know that there are people, especially people on the internet, who define being a real gamer by essentially if you play games, you know, for a certain amount of time, if you're interested in multiple different genres, and they don't really classify like women who just play like Animal Crossing 2 days a week as being real gamers. But they also don't classify men who just own an Xbox and play COD and FIFA a couple times a week as real gamers either.
If we want to completely digest this modern crusade against feminism, it will best suit us to take a little time travel session back to the 1970s and 80s.
No, we shouldn't actually. We shouldn't take it straight back to the 1980s and 1990s, because I know what you're gonna say, because back then, you know, girls who played video games actually were ridiculed for playing them, either by women who didn't play them or by boys who did. But that's not where this modern crusade against feminism, as you call it, comes from. You have to look back to 2015 and 2016, and maybe even before that, when people like Anita Sarkeesian started attacking video games and gamers for being misogynistic for no reason. That is where this modern, like, idea comes from.
Just a little warning for my ladies watching this video. I'll be talking about a lot of societal factors that you experience every day and probably know very well about. So consider this video #ForTheKings.
I just think it's so fucking funny when people who aren't part of a certain group start speaking on behalf of that group and like battling their battles for them. Like that's literally what this dude is doing. You should just honestly straight up say like,
women can't fight this battle on their own against the misogynists. They need my help to do it for them. I shall protect the precious miladies in my YouTube video. Maybe then I'll finally get laid.
Back in the arcade cabinet days, video game production was an extreme sausage fest, as were most modern tech industries. On top of this, there were many social factors determining the climate of the audience. Part of that were gender roles. Traditional gender roles were very much present in this era. And although there were those who broke from these social rules and norms, sexism set itself into the fabric of video gaming culture. The general American demographic for video games were children and adult males, which led to the marketing being very masculine.
yeah, so is there a problem with that? If the vast majority of people who make video games are men, and the vast majority of people who play video games are men, essentially men making products for other men, why do you have a problem with the marketing being mainly, masculine and targeted towards men? Even right now, in current day, the vast majority of gamers and game developers are male. And while it's definitely true that in the 80s and 90s, a lot less girls played video games because of gender roles and sexism and the fact that they'd probably get bullied if they did, I feel like that doesn't apply nearly as much towards current day.
This rude 90s in-your-face attitude was what to be expected when you picked up a controller and booted up Sonic. Take away the colors associated with different genders. This little blue bastard is gender neutral. I don't see no fucking penis. I don't see no big ball sack. I don't see him gaslighting women.
Yes, that's the only way you could possibly know if someone's a man, if they either have a cock or are gaslighting women. That's the only way you could recognize a man.
I don't see him doing anything that's associated with a different gender. He's just jumping around and going fast. But the commercials made him seem like a fucking dickhead.
What the fuck are you on about? So Sonic is supposed to portray this sort of like rebellious teenage boy from the 90s vibe, which he carries in both the games, but especially in like the TV show and commercial. Apparently that's annoying, I guess. Apparently that makes him out to be an asshole, but whatever, right? He very much comes across as this rebellious teenage boy, which is what he is. And also, my guy says, colors aside. It's like, dude, Sonic is blue and Amy Rose is pink for a fucking reason. You can't just say colors aside. It's like saying, Mario is gender neutral. Mustaches aside. Like, shut the fuck up. Also, real quick, this has nothing to do with what he's saying, right? But can someone explain to me why this motherfucker is holding a can? Just a random, like, can of, I guess, some soda I've never heard of in his hand. He's not drinking from it. He's just holding it awkwardly there. Why? For aesthetic purposes? I don't get, like, he's not drinking from it. He's not using it. It's just annoying. It looks weird. Put down the fucking can of soda. I don't know, maybe he put his mic on that. I've seen YouTubers do that before, but then usually it's very obvious that there's like a mic on the object. There's no mic there that I can tell. So he's just holding a pink soda can for, I guess, aesthetic purposes. It's fucking weird.
Christians hated video games, boys loved video games, and here's the thing. Girls love video games too. Sure, maybe because of how video games were marketed and how gender roles were set up, on average men were a little bit more interested than women.
This is such bullshit. I don't believe that women just play less video games or aren't interested in certain video games just because of sexism and societal standards and marketing. In the current day, if a girl like watches a trailer for the new Battlefield game and really fucking thinks like to herself, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen, I want to play this game, what is stopping her? Genuinely, what is stopping her? I doubt anybody would ridicule or bully her for that, especially not like her male classmates. They'd probably just be excited to like double up with her on Fortnite or whatever the fuck, right? The only people I could see bullying her for wanting to play Fortnite or some other FPS game would be like guys in in-game voice chat. That's it, right? I feel like we're just not understanding the fact that there is fundamentally a difference between what men like and what women like. And that's not even anything to do with video games. Even if you look at video games, you can see that certain game genres are enjoyed far more by women than they are by men, and the other way around. And those aren't bad things. For example, the amount of women interested in a game like The Sims is just higher than the amount of women interested in a game like Hearts of Iron 4, and the other way around as well. The amount of men interested in Hearts of Iron 4 is just bigger than the amount of men interested in The Sims. And that doesn't mean that men can't like The Sims and women can't like Hearts of Iron, or women can't be mildly interested in Hearts of Iron and really into The Sims, or the other way around, or whatever. It just means that in general, on average, there is just a preference.
But that is because of social rules and norms hammered into our brains. There could be devastating social ramifications if a high school girl started going to the arcade every day after school to pursue her interests. Her friends could think of her as an outcast because she isn't following society's traditions. The boys who go to the arcade every day after school could start a rumor that she's just going there to try to have sex with the leaderboard rulers. Because her interests don't fall into what society deems acceptable for her gender, she is considered a weirdo.
This was back in the 1980s though, dude. This doesn't apply to today. Right? I grew up with plenty of girls playing video games. Literally everybody had a Nintendo Wii and a Nintendo DS growing up, like that's around my age. Nobody judged them for playing video games. Nobody cared about the fact that they played video games, especially not the boys. The boys just liked to play video games with them. I've never seen a girl get ridiculed for playing video games, except a couple of times by other girls. That's the only thing.
Or an outcast. Don't you dare start thinking that the only negative externalities of this toxic culture only fall on women. Like many other activities and interests, video games have a complex relationship of hyper-competition and masculinity. When Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out, you were not allowed to be a 9th grade boy and not own that video game. I fucking hated that video game.
Well, that just means you have shit taste, my guy. Now, all jokes aside, I do know what this feels like. All my friends used to fucking love GTA 5. I hate GTA 5. I don't like the game at all, but I still used to play it with them because otherwise I'd, be a social outcast, I guess. Not really, but I just wouldn't be able to play with them. Also, by the way, if you're hearing background noise now, it started storming outside. I'm sorry, I guess, but I can't change the weather, and I'm that set on finishing this recording now.
Everybody was so mean online.
Everybody was so mean online, dude. Calm down, okay? That's just the way it is, okay? That's funny. I like that kind of environment. I think most people who play those games do. It's funny to have people act toxic towards me and talk shit about me, and then to respond to them and talk shit back. That's fun. It's fun to listen to other people that talk trash to each other. I don't know. And if you're not into that, turn off the fucking game chat. It's not that difficult.
My KD was terrible. And the only fun thing about that whole entire game was the campaign. And yet, I played it every day. If I didn't, I wouldn't have the ability to socialize with my friends as often. The average gamer is desensitized to the toxicity of the culture.
Now, I'm not sorry if what I'm about to say is gonna piss some people off, but acting toxic and talking shit in voice chat is part of the culture, and it's fun. Most people, I think a lot of people think it's fun, right? My favorite thing about Siege actually is just shitting and trolling people in chat. Now, people do take it too far. Obviously, sexism and racism aren't really okay, but you do have to deal with people who are going to say those things, right? Because people will say those things. And it's up to you to, I guess, deal with that or just mute chat. I don't know really what you want, right? You can't just blame men for it. You say, oh, all the racism and sexism in my video game is because of men. It's like not entirely true either. Because women also partake in the shit talk, and maybe they're not as sexist, right? But they definitely racist. Although I do have to say that most people who act toxic like this don't say racist or sexist shit. It's usually literally just joking. None of it is very serious, and if it is, it's because someone is very pissed off, right? But who cares?
Being subjected to nothing but army men, male protagonists who don't show any sort of emotion, and the objectification of women in video game and media culture will create a type of behavior that I can only categorize as drywall punching behavior. When drywall punchers interact with each other in online environments, it only re-solidifies their behaviors. Here's the funny thing about drywall punchers. They usually hate women.
I love how he just creates a random personality type, drywall punchers, and then doesn't explain at all what they are. Like, what are drywall punchers? Apparently they're people who enjoy games with army men and I guess objectified women or whatever. I wonder why games like that are very popular, right? Could it be because these video games are made by men for other men and appeal to the male fancy? I wonder. But like, he just randomly creates this personality type that he doesn't describe at all. I don't know shit about who or what makes someone a drywall puncher, and then just claims they're all sexist. Great, makes perfect sense, dude. Also, I quickly want to cut back to what I said earlier about, like, you know, these games, these drywall punching games or whatever, are essentially created by male developers for a male audience and appeals to male fantasy. I think it's kind of weird that when women start playing that game, that they start complaining that the game appeals to a male fantasy, or that the voice chat feels like a boys' locker room. I think we all know what I mean when I say that. It's kind of weird to like walk into a predominantly male space and then complain about how there's too much male shit going on, I guess.
In some form or another. This toxic behavior usually starts in the normie video game COD Halo community and stains the inner Cheeto-dusted gamer walls. I don't need to tell you how women are treated in online matchmaking lobbies. All you need to do is type in "girl destroys COD player" in the YouTube search bar, and then you're all set.
Yeah, okay, but that has nothing to do with the fact that they're women. Right? The fact that women get bullied in COD lobbies or whatever after they kill some guy, that applies to everybody, right? Regardless of who you are or what you did, right? You could be really good at COD and people would be yelling at you for beating them at COD, or you could be really shit and people will be yelling at you for having a low score. People will find a reason to bully you. Maybe you have a funny name. Maybe you have a funny accent. Maybe you have like an Arab name or something, or an Indian name, and they're gonna bully you for your ethnicity. Right? People will find a way to bully you in these lobbies. Right? That just happens to everybody. And if you're a woman, the first thing they're gonna go after is the fact that you're a woman. Because it's easy to make sexist jokes. I don't get this. I'm not condoning that, by the way. I prefer personally to just kind of troll people and not, like, you know, insult them for their ethnicity and shit. But it does happen. Like, saying that this is like a female experience and women specifically get mistreated or bullied more in these lobbies, it's just not true. Everybody gets bullied. Everybody bullies everybody. Again, if you don't like that sort of toxic culture, turn off the fucking voice chat.
I had to do some research to find demographics for what video games have a larger female player base. In general, the ratio for avid video game players, male to female, is roughly 3 to 1. There are some genres of games that are more proportionately played by men and women. Some of those genres are life sims, RPGs, telltale games, and indie games with unique art styles. What about doing chores on a farm is specifically fun for women? What about making animal friends on an island is specifically appealing to women? What about cute baby-sized protagonists is specifically appealing to women?
Well, they're not. They're appealing to people of both genders, right? But just more so to women. Because, well, I personally, I don't know why, I'm not a woman, but I can see by the stats that you just showed that women prefer to play those games over games like Hearts of Iron, or fucking Call of Duty, or whatever.
Is it perhaps because women naturally gravitate towards household chores such as cleaning, caretaking, and gardening? Nope. Think about it. The toy store is a very basic sociology 101 idea. There are boys and girls sections in the toy store where the boys get to play with monster trucks and robots, the girls get easy bake ovens, and Barbie goes to the Department of Motorized Vehicles. The answer to my previous questions aren't because of biology. Get that thought out of your head. It all circles back to gender roles.
I just completely disagree with this idea. Not completely. There is probably some truth in there, right? But the idea that our biology has nothing to do with what men like and what women like, I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, there are biological differences between men and women. I'm sorry to say, and I don't just mean physical ones, right? For example, it's far more likely for women to go to university or study highly educated jobs than it is for men in current day. Women test way better on language-based tests than men, while men test way better on mathematic-based tests than women. These are facts. You can't tell me that that is because of gender roles or marketing or upbringing. That's just in our biology. So there are differences between the genders, just on a like basic biological level. And there are also examples out there that for me kind of point to the consumption of media isn't just completely based on gender roles or your upbringing or marketing by toy stores or whatever. For example, the vast majority of the audience for true crime shows or horror movies and shit like that are women. Right, the vast majority, and they're not specifically marketed towards women. There's nothing to do with gender roles because little girls aren't told they have to be interested in fucking true crime podcasts, right? Also, if, even if gender roles are the reason why women prefer to play games like Animal Crossing, it doesn't take away from the fact that women prefer to play games like Animal Crossing. I'm also failing to see how this has anything to do with the subject of the video, which is men ruined gaming for women. Because they haven't, women are just playing different games, I guess. Not necessarily, but on average, no.
We see a lot of people break from these gender roles, which is only one among many signs that this gender idea we have is experiencing some growing pains. And perhaps we need to get rid of it altogether as a society.
Yeah, no, even as a guy who doesn't really fuck with gender roles and doesn't really care about them, I'll wear whatever clothes I want. I don't care if, they're considered feminine or whatever. I like the fucking pants. I'm wearing the pants. But I still don't think gender should be removed, because gender, I'm sorry to say, does exist biologically, and it is quite important still. Like, if we're talking about, like, making it more acceptable or more normal, I guess, for girls to, like, play ball sports or for guys to paint their nails or play with dolls or whatever the fuck, I'm all for that. That's completely fine. But completely, like dismissing gender as something that is stupid and shouldn't exist and is a bad concept, that's dumb. We shouldn't do that. It's a very important concept because it is a biological fact, it exists, and it does affect a lot of things in our lives. And again, if you're a guy and you're more in touch with like your feminine side or whatever, you don't really relate to like the boys or some shit like that, that's fine. No one really cares, and that should be normalized for you to, like, I don't know, play with dolls, do whatever the fuck you want, wear pink, That should be normalized, but just doing away with the entire concept of gender, that's stupid.
But just for the record, women like these games because they're fun.
Yes, no one's disputing that. All I'm saying here is that, women like those games more than they like other games, like COD or whatever, and men tend to like those kind of games, like COD or, FPS games, Hearts of Iron, more than they like life sim games, and that's fine. But this idea that, like, ooh, gender bad, and this is because of sexism, and men are trying to bully women out of the video game industry, it's just simply put not true. It's just not true. I'm gonna end the video here. After this, he's gonna like go on a rant about, like, I don't know, he like more diversity in gaming. I don't really care. I covered most of his video. I'm kind of done with it as well. I'm tired. So with that being said, I'm gonna end the video here. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.